quarantine. While separate during this time, it's something that all of us can still relate to because we went through it collectively. Each of us can distinctly remember what it was like, disinfecting our groceries, searching everywhere to find toilet paper, going to school over Zoom wearing sweats all the time, and rarely putting on shoes anymore. Unfortunately, most of us also know about the negative impact that quarantine and the pandemic had on many people's mental health. Was I very depressed during quarantine? Maybe. I'll let you see for yourself, but would I give up this time? No, I would not. And you might be sitting here in front of me wondering, Paulina, you just showed me pictures of yourself crying. Given the chance to go back in time, you'd go through this again. Why? And my answer to this question is what I'll be talking about with you today. Quarantine gave me the time and opportunity to explore my identity and expression outside of the judgmental gaze of society, which were my then high school peers. It allowed me to put the effort that I needed into figuring out my identity, learning more about my gender and sexuality and where my style fits with those. At the beginning of quarantine, although I posed for pictures, I would consider myself to have little to no self-confidence. I presented myself in a very feminine way, and unfortunately, my focus was on being not like the other girls. However, during quarantine, I began to have more fun with the clothes that I was wearing, either putting together outfits that I had never thought of before, or that I had thought of but just never had the confidence to wear outside my house. I'd also gone all of my life with hair grown down my back, but at this time I'd been wanting to cut and dye my hair for years, and I finally did it. Living in the safety and comfort of my own home, surrounded by just my family and my dogs, I started to present myself in a way that I wanted to, and I only had to present myself to my peers in my little Zoom square. During this time, I learned two things. One, that identity and expression are a lot more fluid than many people think, and two, that without the suppressive influence of society, a person's true sense of identity can thrive. By the end of my senior year, I showed up to prom looking like this, which took a lot of confidence, considering the fact that I hadn't even seen my peers in person all year long. I almost wore a suit to prom, but I didn't. Maybe because I hadn't grown that much confidence yet, but seeing what I'm wearing in front of you here today, I think you can see how much I've grown even since then. During this time, my brothers were also experimenting with their own expression, with both of them growing out their hair and one of them starting to paint his nails and wear makeup sometimes. In fact, a lot of people used quarantine as a time to experiment with their own identity and expression and finally call into question our long-held beliefs of who gets to wear what and why. We see evidence of this through singers like Harry Styles and Lil Nas X, who we see on TV and covers of magazines, wearing skirts and dresses and painting their nails. We see evidence of this through streamers like Corpse Husband, Saikuno, and Carl Jacobs, who go live or share photos of themselves wearing nail polish and jewelry and showing their large audiences that this is okay. We see evidence of this through TikTok and the rise of the femboys, who present themselves wearing skirts and dresses and nail polish and makeup. TikTok was instrumental for many people during this time in discovering the possibilities of identity and expression out there. Finally, we see evidence of this every single day all around us here on this college campus, as it's become so much more common for boys and men to paint their nails. Now, I think all of this is really great, as we've come to a point in time where we're starting to actively fight against the toxicity of masculinity and break down the gender norms that have been long instilled in our society. I know I, for one, wouldn't want to be the person standing in the way of someone from presenting themselves in a way that makes them feel most authentic. And I'm sure most of you would agree with me and feel the same way. But if that's true, then why is it that our society still makes people so afraid of expressing themselves in a way that makes them feel best? Why does it make them so afraid of the judgment and ridicule they'll face? Why does society make people feel the need to conform? We need to work toward making a more accepting and non-judgmental world in which people can look however they want. And it would help if more people would start to express themselves in whatever way makes them feel most confident and comfortable to show others around them that this is safe and that this is okay. But if we're going to continue to progress, change needs to come from somewhere in our society. So I'm asking for that change to come from you. Thank you.
You appreciate the end.